Chapter 31. Redemption and Eternal Salvation. The correction of mistaken concepts about redemption. Many men have accepted the idea that all the tears of this world have been caused by the sins of its first inhabitants, and in their clumsiness in interpreting the parable have come to say that Hamashiach came to wash away the stain of his blood. If this affirmation were true, why, in spite of that already consummated sacrifice, would men continue to sin and to suffer? Yahusha came to earth to teach men the road to perfection, a road he pointed out with his life, his words, and his deeds. All will reach the goal according to the fulfillment of your mission. For that purpose I have come to deliver my teachings, which are inexhaustible, in order for you to ascend the ladder of your evolution. It is not my blood that will save you, but my light within your spirit, which will redeem you. I will be given a new cross in this third era. It will not be visible to mortal eyes, but from its height I will send my message of love to humanity. And my blood, which is the essence of my word, will be converted into light for the spirit. Those who judged me in the era today repented, give light with their spirits to the heart of humanity as restitution for their faults. Before my doctrine triumphs over the evilness of men, it must be flogged and mocked, just as Hamashiach suffered on the cross. My light must emerge from every wound to illuminate the darkness of this world that lacks love. My invisible blood must also spread over humanity to once again show it the path of its redemption. I tell you once again that in me all humanity will be saved. The blood shed at Calvary is life for the spirit, but it is not in the blood itself, which fell to the dust of the earth, but rather the divine love that is represented by it. Now, when I speak to you of my blood, you know what meaning it holds. Many men have spilled their blood in the service of the Most High and for love of their brothers. But that has not represented the divine love, only spiritual, only human. The blood of Yahusha represents divine love because it bore no stain. In the Master, there was never any sin. And of his blood he gave even the last drop to make you comprehend that Yah is everything for his creatures. That for them he gives himself completely because he loves them infinitely. If the dust of the earth drank that liquid that sustained life in the body of the Master, it was so that you must understand that my doctrine would fertilize the lives of men with the divine watering of its love, its wisdom, and its justice. The world, incredulous and skeptical of the words and examples of the Master, disputes my teaching, saying that Yahusha shed his blood to save mankind from sin, but that in spite of it, the world has not been saved. It sins more every day in spite of being more evolved. Where then is the power of the blood of redemption, men ask, while those who should be teaching the true concepts of my doctrine do not know how to satisfy the questions of those hungry for light and thirsty to know the truth. I tell you, in this era, the questions of those who do not know have a better basis and sense than the answers and explanations given to them by those who say they know the truth. I have come again to speak to you, and here you have my words for those who think that blood achieved the salvation of the sinners before the divine justice, that it saved all who were lost and condemned to torment. I tell you, if the Father, who knows all, had believed that humanity were not going to understand and make use of all the words and works that Yahusha gave to them, truly he would never have sent him, for the Creator has never done anything unnecessary, nothing that is not destined to give fruit. And if he sent Yahusha to be born, grow, and die among men, it was so that the radiant and fertile life of the Master would remain to mark an imperishable path, an undeniable track, so that all his children would find the way that leads them to true love, and that complying with his doctrine leads them to the mansion where their Creator awaits them. He knew also that the blood that spoke of purity, of infinite love, upon being shed to the very last drop, would teach humanity to complete the mission that raises them to the promised land with faith in their Creator, whereupon presenting their fulfillment they may say, Yahuwah, it is finished. Now I can tell you that it was not the hour of the shedding of my blood on the cross that marked the moment of human redemption. My blood remains here in the present world, alive, fresh, tracing with the bloody mark of my passion. The path of your restitution that will lead you to conquer the dwelling that your Father has promised you. I have told you, I am the source of life. Come and wash your stains so that you may walk free and safe to your Father and Creator. My fountain is that of love. It is inexhaustible and infinite. Of that speaks my blood shed in that time. It signed my word and sealed my doctrine. Now, many centuries distant from those events, I tell you that in spite of Yahusha having spilled his blood for all humanity, only those who have followed the path that Yahusha came to show you have achieved salvation, while those who have persisted in their ignorance and fanaticism, their errors, or their sin are not yet saved. I told you that were I to make myself man 1,000 times, and 1,000 times die on the cross, while humanity does not rise to follow me, it will not have achieved its salvation. It is not my cross which will save you, but your own. I bore mine on my back. On it I died as a man, and in that instant I was in the bosom of the Father. You must imitate me in meekness and love, bearing your cross on your backs with true humility until you reach the end of your mission, so that you too may come to be with your Father. There are none who do not wish to find happiness, and the more lasting, the better, because I come to show you a road that leads to the supreme and eternal happiness. Nevertheless, I merely show you the way and leave you to choose that which most pleases you. I ask you, if you wish happiness, why do you not sow it so that you can harvest it later? How few there are who have felt the impulse to render themselves to humanity. The ideas you have of the meaning of life on earth, of what the spirit is, and of what the spiritual valley is are mistaken. The majority of believers think that living with a certain rectitude or repenting in the last instant of life of the errors they have made, they have assured themselves of glory for their spirits. That false concept that blinds men does not permit them to persevere throughout their lives in compliance with the law, and causes their spirits, when they abandon this world and come to the spiritual mansion, to find themselves in a place where they do not behold the marvels they had imagined, nor feel the supreme happiness to which they think they have a right. Do you know what happens to those beings that felt sure of reaching heaven, but instead find only confusion? Upon no longer inhabiting the earth because they no longer have the point of support provided by their physical shell, and being unable to ascend to the heights in which the dwellings of the spirit light are found, without realizing it, they create for themselves a world that is neither human nor profoundly spiritual. Then is when the spirits ask, is this the glory? Is this the dwelling fated by Yah for the spirits after such a long journey on earth? No, says others, this cannot be the bosom of the Most High, where only light, love, and purity may exist. Slowly, through meditation and pain, the spirit comes to understanding. It understands the divine justice and, illuminated by the light of its conscience, judges its past works and discovers them to have been petty and imperfect, not worthy of the reward he had expected. It is then that this preparation humility appears, and the desire to return to the roads abandoned to erase the stains incurred, repair the errors, and earn true merit before the Father. It is necessary to explain these things to humanity so that they may understand that the material life is an opportunity for men to earn merit for their spirits, merit which elevate them until they deserve a dwelling place of higher spirituality, wherein, again, they must earn merit in order to avoid becoming stagnant and to continue climbing step by step, for in my Father's house are many mansions. These merits you earn through love, as the eternal law of the Father has told you. And thus, from step to step on the ladder of perfection, your spirit shall go learning the path that leads to glory, to true glory, which is the perfection of the Spirit. Truly, I tell you that if in this era I had come as a man, your eyes would still have had to see my fresh and bleeding wounds, for the sins of men have not ceased, nor have they wished to redeem themselves in memory of the blood shed by me on Calvary as a proof of my love for humanity. But I have come in spirit so that you may avoid the affront of beholding the work of those who judged and sentenced me on earth. All is forgiven, but in every spirit exists something of that which I spilled out for all on the cross. Do not believe that that breath and that blood will be diluted or lost. They represented the spiritual life that I poured forth from that instant to all men. What is more, for reason of that blood that sealed my word and confirmed what I said and did on the earth, men rose up in search of the regeneration of their spirits. My word, my works, and my blood were not and shall not be in vain. If sometimes it seems to you that my name and my word are almost forgotten, you will see how they arise again, full of life, vigor, and purity, like a seed that, in spite of being constantly embattled, never dies. The blood of Yahusha converted into the light of redemption continues penetrating spirits as salvation. My spirit is eternally giving salvation and light, continuously penetrating with the rays of my light to where darkness exists. Every moment my divine spirit is spilling, not as human blood, but in essence and spiritual life over all my children. Heaven must be earned. Dominated by the forces of their low passions, men have descended so deeply in their sinfulness that they have lost all hope of salvation. But there is not one who cannot be saved. For the Spirit will arise once it is convinced that human turmoil will not cease as long as it does not listen to the voice of its conscience, fulfilling my law unto the end of its destiny, which is not on earth but in eternity. Those who believe that their existence is absurd and believe that their struggles and suffering are useless fail to realize that life is the teacher that molds and pain the chisel that perfects. Do not think that I created pain to offer it to you in a cup. Do not think that I have made you fall. Men fell in disobedience by himself, and for that reason he must also arise by his own effort. Neither think that only pain will perfect you. No, you will also come to me by practicing love, for I am love. Pray more with the spirit than the material, for it's to save yourselves an instant of prayer or a day of love are not sufficient, but rather a life of perseverance, of patience, of elevated works in compliance with my commandments. For this I have given you great powers and senses. My work is like an ark of salvation that invites all to enter. All who comply with my laws shall not perish. If you guide yourselves by my word, you will be saved. Keep in mind that only what is perfect reaches me. Therefore, your spirit will enter my kingdom only when it has attained perfection. You emerged from me without experience, but you shall return to me adorned with the garment of your merits and virtues. Verily, I say to you that the spirits of the just who dwell near Yah gain the right to occupy that place by their own deeds, not because I gave it to them. I only showed them the way, and at the end of it, I revealed to them the reward. Blessed are those who say to me, Father, you are the way, the light that illuminates it, and the strength for the traveler. You are the voice that indicates the course and encourages us along the journey. And you are also the reward for him who reaches the end. Yes, my children, I am the life and the resurrection of the dead. Today the Father will not ask, who can and who is willing to rescue the human race with their blood? Nor will Yahusha answer, Master, I am the Lamb, willing to mark the path of restitution for mankind with my blood. Nor shall I send my word to be made flesh in this era. That era is past for you, and it left its teaching and elevation in your spirit. Now I have opened a new stage in spiritual advancement in which it shall be you who earn merit. I want you all to be happy in peace and inhabiting the light so that you may come to possess all, not only through my love, but also through your merits. For it is then that your satisfaction and happiness will be complete. I came to show you the beauty of a life higher than the human one, to inspire you to elevated works, to teach you that word that provides abundant love, and proclaim to you the unknown happiness, that which awaits the spirit that has known how to climb the mountain of sacrifice, of faith, and love. All of this you should recognize in my teaching, so that at last you may understand it is your works that bring your spirit closer to true happiness. If to go from one continent of the earth to another, you must cross high and low mountains, seas, towns, cities, and countries to reach your journey's destination. Think that to reach the promised land, you must travel far, so that in the long journey you gather experience, knowledge, development, and the evolution of the spirit. That shall be the fruit of the tree of life, which you shall finally taste after having struggled and wept so much to reach it. You are children of the Father of light. Yet, if through your weakness you have fallen into the darkness of a life full of trouble, error, and tears, these sorrows shall pass, because you will rise to my voice when I call to you, saying, I am here, illuminating your world and inviting you to scale the mountain upon whose peak you shall find all peace, happiness, and the wealth that in vain you have sought to gather on earth. Each world, each dwelling place was created so that in it the spirit would evolve and make a step towards their creator, and thus advancing more and more on the road to perfection. Someday arrive white, clean and molded to the end of its journey. The peak of spiritual perfection, which is to inhabit the kingdom of Yah. To whom does it seem impossible to come to inhabit the bosom of Yah? O poor minds that do not know how to reflect, have you already forgotten that you sprang from my bosom, that you once inhabited it? There is nothing strange that all that were born of the source of life return to it in due time. Every spirit upon being born of me was pure, yet later in their road many became stained. Nonetheless, all being foreseen by me in a wise, loving, and just way, I went ahead to put all the means necessary for your salvation and regeneration along the road that my children must travel. If that spiritual purity was profaned by many beings, the day will come in which they, purifying themselves of all their faults, reacquire their original purity, and this purification will be very meritorious in my eyes, for their spirit will have achieved this through great and incessant trials of their faith, their love, their faithfulness, and their patience. You all will return along the road of work, struggle, and pain to the kingdom of light, from which you will no longer have to be made flesh in a human body, nor inhabit a material world, for by then your spiritual reach will permit you to make your influence felt and send your light from one world to another. The most powerful force for redemption. Here then is the pathway. Come through it and you will be saved. Verily I say to you that it is not necessary to have listened to me during this period to attain salvation. Everyone who during this existence practices my divine law of love, that love is inspired in the Creator that results in love toward his fellow man, will be saved. He will give testimony of me in his life and with his deeds. If the sun radiates the light of life over all nature, over all creatures, and if the stars also radiate light to the earth, why should the divine spirit not radiate light over the spirit of man? I come now to tell you, humanity, stop. Let the light of justice that comes from love extend over all the world. Let my truth persuade you that without true love you will not achieve salvation. My light is for all my children, not only for you who dwell in this world, but also for spirits who inhabit different mansions. All of them will be liberated and resurrected to an eternal life when, with their deeds of love toward their brethren, they will fulfill my divine precept, which asks that you love one another. Behold, people, this is the third day in which I come to resuscitate my word among the dead. This is the third era in which I appeared to the world in spiritual form to tell you, this is the same Hamashiach you saw expire on the cross that now comes to speak to you because he lives and shall live and be forever. In contrast, I see that men, in spite of their religions that claim to be telling the truth, bear hearts dead to faith and dead to love and light. They believe that by praying in their temples and attending their rites, their salvation is assured. Yet I tell you that the world must know that salvation can be reached only by the realization of acts of love and charity. The gathering places are only a school. The religions must not be satisfied to explain only the law. They must make sure that humanity understands that life is the road along which they must apply what they have learned of the divine law, putting my doctrine of love into practice. Hamashiach made himself man to show divine love to the world, but men are hard of heart and stubborn. They soon forget the lesson shown and interpret it badly. I knew that humanity would come to confuse justice and love with vengeance and punishment. That is why I announced the time that I would return spiritually to the world to explain to humanity the lessons that it had not understood. The announced time is that in which you now live, and I have given you my teaching to manifest my divine justice and wisdom as a perfect lesson of the sublime love of your Elohim. Did you think I came out of the fear that men would destroy the works of their Elohim or life itself? No, I come only out of love for my children, whom I wish to see filled with light and peace. Barely is it not just that you too come to me only out of love, yet not from love for yourselves, but for the love of your father and your brothers. Do you believe that he who flees from sin only from fear of torment, or he who does good works thinking only of the prize that he may achieve upon conquering a place in eternity is inspired by divine love? He who thinks like this does not know me. He does not come to me out of love, but works only out of love for himself. All my law is condensed into two precepts: love of Elohim and love of your fellow men. That is the road. Salvation and redemption for each spirit. This time I have not come to raise the dead in body, as I did with Lazarus during the second era. Today my light comes to lift the spirits, which are the ones that belong to me. And these will arise with the truth of my word to an eternal life, because your spirit is the Lazarus, which today you carry within your being, and which I will resurrect and heal. The spiritual realm is also governed by laws, and when you part from them, very soon you feel the pain result of that disobedience. Behold, how great is the yearning to save you. Today, as during that period, I shall carry the cross to raise you toward the true life. If my blood shed along Calvary touched the heart of mankind and converted them to my doctrine, during this period it will be my divine light that will shake the spirit and the flesh to make you return toward the true pathway. I want those who have died to the life of grace to live eternally. I do not want your spirit to dwell in darkness. See how many of your brothers await in the bosom of idolatry the coming of the Messiah. See how many in their ignorance believe that I will come only to discharge my justice upon the wicked, to save the righteous and destroy the world, without knowing that I am among men as father, master, brother, and friend, full of love and humility, extending my charity to save, bless, and forgive all. No one has been born by chance, and as humble, awkward, or small as he believes himself to be, he has been created by the grace of the Supreme Being, who loves him as much as other beings whom he considers superior. He has a destiny that will take him, like all others, to the bosom of Yah. Do you see those men who cross the streets like outcasts, dragging along their vice and misery, not knowing who they are nor where they're going? Do you know of men who still dwell in jungles surrounded by beasts? Not one of them is forgotten by my charity. All of them have a mission to fulfill. All of them possess the origin of evolution and are in the path where their merits, efforts, and struggles will guide the spirit step to me. Who is he that has not wished for my peace, even if it were only for an instant, longing to liberate himself from this earthly life? Every spirit feels nostalgia for the world that he previously inhabited, for the home where he was born. That world waits for all of my children, inviting them to enjoy the eternal life that some wish for, while others merely wait for death to cease to be, because they bear a confused spirit and live without hope and without faith. What can encourage these beings to fight for their regeneration? What can awake in them the longing for eternity? They only wait for the non-existence, the silence, and the end. However, the light of the world, the way, and the life have returned to resurrect you with my forgiveness, to caress your fatigued brow, to comfort your heart, and make the one who felt unworthy of living listen to my voice, which says to him, I love you, come to me. Men may fall and sink into darkness and feel thereby distant from me. They may believe that when they die, all is finished for them. Yet to me, none die, and not one is lost. How many there are who lived as perverse beings in this world, but who today are filled with light. How many who left in their wake the stain of their sins, their vices, and their crimes, who have already achieved perfection. It is true that many continue to stain their spirits, but do not judge them, for they do not know what they do. I will also save them. It does not matter that they have forgotten me or replaced me with false gods that they have created in the world. Them too I shall take to my kingdom, even if, because they now follow false prophets, they have forgotten that the gentle Hamashiach who gave his life to teach them his doctrine of love. To the Father no one is evil. No one can be evil because all were born from me. I granted my children the gift of free will, thus many of them have chosen to be rebellious, violent, blind, and commit mistakes. However, all of them will become spiritually enlightened, and my charity will guide them along the path of redemption. All of you are my seed, and the Master brings in the harvest. If among the good seed there are weeds, I take them with love between my hands to transform them to golden wheat. I see the seed of weeds in hearts, and also muck and mire, and crime and hatred. Nonetheless, I gather them all and love them. This seed I caress and purify until it shines like wheat in the sun. Do you believe that the potency of my love is unable to redeem you? I will sow you after cleansing you in my garden, where you shall bear new flowers and fruits. Within my divine project is the mission of dignifying you. How could I irredeemably lose a spirit if it bears within it a ray of my light that can never be extinguished and which is before it wherever it goes? No matter how long its stubbornness or confusion lasts, the darkness will never be as enduring as my eternity. It is as worthy before me that a being stained with tracks of the most grievous errors purifies itself inspired by an elevated ideal, as that a being who has persevered in purity has struggled to the end to avoid stain because it loved the light from the beginning. How distant from the truth are those who believe that the disturbed spirits are of different nature from those of the spirits of light. The Father would be unjust if that were true, just as he would cease being the Almighty if he lacked the wisdom and love to save those who are stained, impure, or imperfect, and if he were unable to reunite them in one dwelling with the just. Even those beings you call demons or tempters, I tell you truly, are nothing more than disturbed or imperfect spirits of which the Father makes wise use to bring about his high designs and plans. Yet those beings whose spirits are today enveloped in darkness, and many of whom make evil use of the gifts I have given them, shall be brought to safety by me in due time. For the moment shall come, O Israel, when all the Most High's creatures glorify me for eternity. I would cease to be Elohim if my power, my wisdom, and my love could not save one spirit. When have parents on earth loved only their good children and detested their bad ones? How many times have I seen you be tendered and more solicitous precisely with those who most offend you and make you suffer? How could it be possible that you perform works of love and forgiveness greater than my own? When has one seen the Master needing to learn from his disciples? Understand, therefore, that none are judged unworthy of me, and so the road to salvation is always inviting you to follow it, just as the gates of my kingdom, which are light, peace, and good, are permanently open in readiness, awaiting the arrival of those who have been far from the law and truth. The glorious future of the children of Yah. I will not permit a single one of my children to become confused nor to be lost. I will convert those parasitic plants into fruitful ones, where all creatures have been created to reach a perfect goal. I want you to rejoice with me in my work. Previously, I have already shared my attributes with you because you are part of me. If everything belongs to me, I also make you owners of my work. Do not doubt my word. In the first era, I fulfilled my promise to liberate Israel from the slavery in Egypt that symbolized idolatry and darkness, to bring you to Canaan, a land of freedom and worship of the living Elohim. There my coming as a man was announced, and the prophecy was fulfilled, word for word, in Hamashiach. I, the Master who inhabited and loved you in Yahusha, promised the world to speak to it in another time, to manifest myself in spirit. Here you have the fulfillment of my promise. Today I announce to you that I have reserved for you marvelous regions, dwellings, and spiritual mansions where you can find the true freedom to love, to do good, and to extend my light. Can you doubt it after the fulfillment of my earlier promises? My divine yearning is to save you and carry you to a world of light, beauty, and love where you will yearn for the elevation of the spirit, the nobility of the sentiments, and the ideal of perfection. What is more, do you not perceive in this divine yearning my love as Father? Certainly whoever cannot understand this must be blind. Look, all the galas of this world are destined to disappear and give way to others, but your spirit shall continue to live forever and shall behold the Father in all his splendor, the Father from whose bosom you sprang. All that is created must return to the place it came from. I am the light, the peace, and eternal happiness, and as you are my children, I both wish to and must make you participants in my glory. That is why I teach you the law as the road that leads the spirit to the heights of that kingdom. Keep always in mind that the spirit that reaches the high grades of goodness, wisdom, purity, and love is beyond time, pain, and distances. It is not limited to inhabiting one place, for it can be everywhere and find in all a supreme delight in existing, in feeling, in knowing, in loving, and knowing it is loved. That is the heaven of the spirit. My peace be with you.